Oh, that's interesting. Literally like that. Then get out. Hello, everyone, especially my 54, 53, 50-something subscribers. Today we are just kind of talking about something. So, if you couldn't tell from the title of this video, this is a little bit of a story time mixed with some current events and relevant information that I just felt like I wanted to talk about on my channel. So yes, today I want to tell the story about how I was perceived as being homophobic, in spite of being a very openly, like, I don't even know how I want to say that. Like, most people are like, I'm an open, proud gay man. And I don't really identify that way, not because I'm ashamed of myself or whatever, but just because it doesn't matter to me. Like, I don't care what anybody else is. I don't particularly care what I am. Like, I care about what I like, who I like, and that's it. And that's where it ends. Like, it's no one else's business. I'm not out, like, exploiting, sharing, whatever. It just, I have different romantic preferences. I have different, like, physical interests. And it's really not that important to me. Granted, it's Pride Month, and I'm all about that. I'm all about, being proud of who you are. I think that we're making great strides and progress in the LGBT plus community. That said, though, the end goal, which I'll get into this later in the video, the end goal is for it to not matter. Straight up. But that being said, I'm already derailing a little bit. Yes, there was a time when I was perceived as being homophobic. This was when I was already out. I wasn't, like, in the closet, wasn't trying to hide who I was, wasn't doing, like, a self-loathing thing. This was the first massage job that I had ever had. I worked there for, like, 4 years, and this was probably around, like, year 3. I was at work. We had just hired a new esthetician. I was working at a spa, and I was trying to get to know him, trying to be, like, a good coworker or whatever. We were both in the back, and he was saying that he was going to a show later that night, and he was going to be in a show later that night or something like that. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'm a performer too. Like, what kind of show is it? Thinking that could be something we kind of connect on. And I was also in a relationship at the time. Like, it wasn't me trying to, like, make a pass at him or anything like that. It just was trying to connect with another person. So he tells me that he, very awkwardly is like, oh, well, it's a drag show. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. At that point, I had never been to or seen drag or anything. Like, I was not big into, like, RuPaul, or I still am not. But I knew that it was a thing, and people enjoyed it. People had fun. I had friends that have, like, been to shows and whatever. Cool. So I was like, oh, okay, that's awesome, fun. And so he was like, I kind of want to show you what I look like in drag, but I'm afraid that you'll judge me. Okay, like, I'm not going to persuade you to show me something if you're uncomfortable. Like, I'm not going to try and, like, get it out of you. Like, and that kind of felt like this guy's whole thing, is that he just wanted a lot of attention. He wanted people to, like, try and pull things out of him. And I just am not that kind of person, especially if I can tell someone wants me to. I'm like, if you want to tell me a story, if you want to give me information, then just give me the information. I'm never going to sit there and pull it out of someone. Hang on, I think the front door just got a knock. Nope, it was just the ghost. But anyways, so he was kind of trying to get me to want him to show me his, like, drag appearance, whatever. And I was like, you know what? If you want to show me, cool. I don't judge. If you are uncomfortable because you just started here, because I think I was his boss at this time. I think at this point I had been, like, the lead therapist or, like, manager in training or something like that. So I was like, I'm not going to make you show me anything outside of work that you don't want me to see or you don't feel comfortable with me seeing. He was like, oh no, I'll show you. And so he shows me, and I'm just like, cool. I didn't have a lot to say about it because I'm not a part of that community. So I don't know, like, if it was good, if it was terrible. I'm just like, cool, awesome. It's a performance. It's a alter ego, a costume, a whatever. And I could be saying something totally offensive. I'm not privy to that information. I don't have a lot of friends that do drag. I don't do drag. So if anything that I'm saying in this is offensive in any way, then please feel free in the comments, call me out, like tell me like, hey, you need to kind of educate yourself before you say XYZ thing. I was just like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, okay, so like, what else are you interested in? Just trying to kind of probe, like, do we have other commonalities? Like, is there stuff that we can get into a discussion about? Because we had some time before clients showed up. And he was like, well, I'm really interested in makeup. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I remember it verbatim. I told him, oh, that's interesting. Literally like that. His response was, what do you mean by interesting? Yeah, interesting. As in, I know nothing about it because I have had no interest in makeup my entire life. Cool that you know something that I don't know. But anyways, so yeah, the way that I had said that and my lack of interest in drag prompted him to then tell one of our coworkers that I was coming off a little homophobic. Very gay. There's a picture of me and my ex literally behind me, which before anyone comes at me, him and I are really good friends right now. Like, Dorian is friends with him. Like, they're totally cool. But, like, I'm very, like, my entire 2020 series, I think just about every episode I talked about my relationship with my boyfriend. Like, granted, if we had had a longer conversation and I might have said something wrong, I probably wouldn't have come across as homophobic. I probably would have come across as prejudice. Yeah, if we'd had a longer form conversation where maybe he was talking about drag something and I had said something offensive, like, I don't know, if maybe saying like that his appearance was a costume, that might come off a little offensively, and I don't mean it that way. But if I had said something like that to him and he had brought up like, wow, that was a really insensitive thing to say, then I could have understood it a little bit better. But it was literally just my lack of interest that made me come across as homophobic. Now, being that it's Pride Month, someone might be saying, Patrick, why are you sharing this story with us? And to that, I have to say, because today, when I'm recording this, it's Saturday. Saturday is always my day to hang out with friends, to check in on everybody, to make sure everyone's cool, copacetic, make plans for later in the week, whatever. So I had lunch with one of my friends today, and I was talking about a game that I think is coming out on my channel sometime in this next week, if it's not already out, because I'm not quite sure of my schedule yet from when I'm filming all of these. But right now I'm on vacation. So I know that when this video comes out, I will be on vacation. So I'm not recording or anything right now. So I'm trying to do a bunch of videos in advance. That said, I'm playing a game for the channel, hopefully for this month, that it's an educational game about all the different sexualities and just sort of a brief explanation of what each of them are. Because a lot of people are like, oh, the LGBTQIA plus whatever. And a lot of people don't quite understand the umbrella that it covers. And there's a lot of, talk about also like gatekeeping and stuff like that from certain sexualities, which I probably won't get into in this video. But I probably could later if that interests anybody. But there is a game. It's, I think it's called Flag Merger. And it's pretty much just taking like different flags and sort of showing where they intersect with each other and gives an explanation of them. And I was telling her about this and she was like, oh, that sounds really cool. But I actually have some questions for you. I'm like, okay, shoot. Like, she's like, do you feel like that umbrella is getting too big? That's an interesting question. I can't instantly say no, and I can't instantly say yes. And the best answer that I felt like I could give her was that it's my hope that in my lifetime, I see LGBT issues disappear, which I know that's a tall order. But we've made a lot of like great strides in them. And I'm actually really optimistic that in my lifetime, so it could be, you know, when I'm an older adult than I am now, not a young adult, but like an adult, or when I'm elderly, when I have grandkids, who knows, that sometime in my living memory, I will remember a time when being gay was something that was super, like, put it away. You don't talk about it. It's an embarrassment to your family, like whatever, all the way to no one even talks about it. Like no one says anything about it. If a kid comes home with a same-sex partner or an opposite-sex partner or a non-binary partner or whatever, that it's not a thing. It's just not a thing. You sit them down, you ask how they met, just like you would anybody, you know, invite them on family vacations, have them in photos. No one has to worry about losing their job or any of that nonsense that we're still seeing today. That has gotten better over the last couple decades, that will continue to improve over the next few decades. And I'm really optimistic about that because the umbrella is so big. In playing this game, I've discovered definitions of sexualities that I was completely unaware were part of the LGBT. One that I had particularly brought up was demisexual. Now, I had no clue what that was. I'm like, does that mean you're sexual half the time, the other half not so much? Like you have like big ebbs and waves and whatever. And when I was reading the definition of it, it's someone that doesn't feel sexual attraction to someone unless they have a intimate connection with them as a person. And I'm like, oh, that's an interesting definition, because that's a lot of people that I know, actually. I have a lot of friends who are not into hookup culture. They are, you know, their body count is literally like 5 or 3 or 1, which cool for them. Like, no hate, no shame, awesome for them. And I also know people who literally have like triple-digit body counts, which no shame there. But each of those has like a sexuality identified under it. And so the more that people are educated, the more that it's sort of seeping into younger cultures, the more that younger generations are going to start identifying with the LGBT. So it'll be interesting to have what would be considered straight white female understand like, oh, I don't have an attraction to someone unless I get to know them first. So that means I'm demisexual. So that means I fall under the LGBT. Now, this woman in particular has only ever dated men, only ever will date men, has not seen any prejudice against her for her dating preferences, you know, has friends that identify similarly, has friends that identify other ways, but she's part of the LGBT. And she recognizes that by saying, oh, I'm demisexual. It helps her when she says that on dating apps or, you know, when she meets up with people. When she says, I'm demisexual, they instantly know, oh, okay, this is not someone I'm going to hook up with. So either date ends because that was what they were looking for, or date continues because that's what they are looking for. That seems like a really perfect, ideal situation where someone who previously wouldn't really be seen under that scope is now a part of this group and understands that their preferences are only applicable to them and their partner. It helps them identify potential partners. It pushes them towards where they want to be in life. And there doesn't have to be any bigotry, any negative repercussions of it, anything. People that would previously just be seen as straight or gay or whatever now have this entire spectrum that they can fall on. And so then the fact that they have their own sexuality that only a particular percentage have, it makes them unique. But now they're also part of the LGBT. So they're part of a movement. They're part of a group together, which everyone wants to feel included. We're a species that's designed to be part of something big, part of something greater. So I feel like the fact that there are so many demographics umbrellaed under the LGBT, it means that we're moving in a direction where more people are going to understand that we don't need to have hate. these are ways of identifying what we do want. You know, like I said, ways that make us unique, ways that will help us find our future partners. If they identify with the LGBT, then they can't really hate on anyone else in the LGBT. You know, it creates more allies amongst each other of this greater good cause, of things that people honestly can't change, that we all already know. Like, it still eludes some people, but for the most part, everyone knows, like, you're born whatever sexuality you're born, and that's just that. Yes, and that jettisoned me into telling her the story that I had just told you guys about when I was called homophobic, because I feel like there are a lot of people who, I'm not gonna say a lot, I feel like there are people who are interested in being part of the LGBT because of the suffering. They want there to be less terms covered under the umbrella, because the previously would be seen as straight girl, who's demisexual, she hasn't suffered. She doesn't know what it's like to have people look down on you, be disgusted by you. It's like, that may be true, but isn't that the point? Isn't that what we're striving for? Is to have it not be an issue for anybody? That no one suffers for their preferences, for the things that they like, to educate everybody that sexuality, gender identity, all of these things, they're a very fluid spectrum of just what people feel, how they think, how they were born, all of these things, and they shouldn't be a problem for anybody. Isn't that what we're doing? If we just want to have a club of people that have suffered, and we don't want to do anything about it, we don't want to educate and make the world better so people aren't suffering, then what's the point? What's the point of finding each other, of having Pride Month? We'd still all be born gay, or, you know, whatever sexuality you identify with. We'd all already still be born that way, but, like, if we're not gonna try for a better tomorrow, then why are we trying to come out? Why are we trying to be out in public? Why are we trying to, you know, show people, hey, this is us. We can't change anything about it. It doesn't affect literally any other part of us. Being gay doesn't instantly mean that I'm a drag queen who likes makeup. Like, I'm a gamer guy. Like, that's something a lot of straight men like, is video games. I'm actually somewhat good at sports when I'm playing them. I've played basketball, and, you know, Dory and I have both been in Boy Scouts. Being gay affected literally none of these, you know, more masculine things about us. And that's the point that we're trying to make. It's not to have a club of people that have suffered. And honestly, if anyone watching this is amongst the idea of, you know, oh, you're not in the LGBT if you haven't been persecuted for being who you are, then get out. Like, that's not what we're trying for. We're not trying to have people who have been hurt come together. Yes, that can be a great, powerful thing. We want to enforce, like, if you've been hurt, come, show who you are. Like, show your pain, let the world know that you're there, and, you know, be you, be authentic. But just because you haven't had prejudice against you doesn't mean that you're not still a part of the community. Doesn't mean that you're not still accepted. Doesn't mean that you can't identify with any of these, you know, large spectrum sexualities that affect people off their preferences more than their, you know, gender attraction. This was a little bit long-winded. It is looking like I've been recording for about 23 minutes. Video might be a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, I'm not sure. Yes, if you made it this far in the video, go ahead and leave a like, comment below any of your opinions on it. Please obviously be respectful, be nice. I know that I'm just a person. You know, these are just my thoughts. This is where I think the world is heading. This is where I hope the world is heading. And yeah, so just feel free to give your input, as long as you do so respectfully. Otherwise, it will just be taken down. I'm not going to leave up comments that are mean or nasty or don't progress anything, because I'm a small enough channel that I can actually catch all of those. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, or if you're not new and just haven't subscribed yet. I do have some videos that are like this. I do have a lot of gaming content. I have a lot of like vlog content. So yeah, I will see you guys next time. Bye.